why you need a plan to deal with those pesky thoughts. Hey my dear, I am Leadership Development Coach Kathy Archer, and I am so glad you are watching today or watching the record after it's happened. Either way, I am glad you're here because if you're like me and like most of us, we run around chasing fires and we struggle to get the things done that really matter. And here today and in all of the videos and the work I share with you, I'm giving you the inner and outer tools to turn that around so that you can move from surviving to thriving in both leadership and life. If you're here on the live call, make a note below, say hello, put a thumbs up. I'm going to pop on over to my computer and share this into my Confident Women Leaders group as we start this. Because this group is for those of you who want to grow your confidence as a woman leader and are looking for some support along the way. Because let's face it, this is a tough job. It's not easy and it's a wee bit lonely at the top. So if we can support each other and develop each other and grow each other, all the better, right? And of course my computer's being slow and thinking, so I haven't yet been able to share it. Give me a half a second and I will get in there and share it. So just a sec. Oh, of course, it's going to make me restart the Facebook page. Technology is wonderful. Okay, so today we're going to talk about why you need a plan to deal with those pesky thoughts. And if you've been following me, you've been listening to me talk about those thoughts in your head. Okay, give me a half a second. Is it going to let me do this? Still thinking. So those thoughts in your head, mind chatter, inner dialogue, all the things you're thinking about, all of those are the thoughts that are going on in your head. And I've been encouraging you to pause and pay attention to those thoughts. I've been encouraging you to listen to those thoughts, to be more aware of them. And so what you might have realized is, oh my goodness, first I have a ton of thoughts that I wasn't aware of. Half them are not effective at getting me where I want to go. They're taking me down a path I don't want. And Kathy, I've tried to change them and it just doesn't work that easily. And so you're right. It does not work that easily. It's difficult to change your thinking. It's not something that you can just snap your fingers at and we are all set. If it was, the world would be a whole different place. But it's not. And our thoughts are so connected to everything that I've been talking about. Your confidence level, your success level, your happiness, your ability to impact and influence people around you, the productivity, all of that's connected to your thoughts. And if those thoughts aren't the thoughts that are taking you down the path that you want to go, and they're taking you someplace you don't want to go, then you want to change them. And what many of us realize is it's hard to catch them when they happen. It's hard to shift them when we're there. And lots of times, 90% of them we don't notice, but the ones that we do notice, it's after the fact. It's after we've started to have these runaway thoughts that we're into trouble. So hold on a second. I'm really having trouble with my Facebook today. It's not opening up on my computer so that I can share this into my Confident Women's Leaders group. So I'm going to try one more time, and if it doesn't work, I'm done. I'm not going to make you guys all wait for me to play with technology, but give me half a second. If you're not in the Confident Women's Leaders group, come on over there. I'll put a link below after so that you can join up and find some support and some other women who are also going through some of the stuff that you're going through. I think as women leaders, I think we're all struggling at times to have the okay, hitting share. Struggling at times to have the reassurance that we're not on this journey alone, the confidence to take our steps and realize that we're going to fall down and we need to get back up. And so sometimes having those other women along with us makes a huge difference. So if you're not in the Confident Women's Leaders group, head on over there and join, and I will connect you to some other women and we'll have some conversations about what we need to do. So again, pesky thoughts. They are so connected to everything we do in life. They're so connected to our success, our ability to feel confident, our ability to be productive. And yet, Shifting those thoughts, as I was talking about on last week, shifting them, I was talking about shifting your perspective, and that's those lenses and those filters in front of us. We need to move those filters out of the way. We need to, stop seeing this through the lens of, oh my God, this is difficult, or that person's a jerk, or it's just because they're a man. When we start moving some of those filters out of the way, we can start to see things differently. Where many of those filters are judging ourselves. I'm not smart enough. I don't have the right education. I haven't been around long enough. People don't believe in me. And it's all of those thoughts that often get in our way. So when we start to change those thoughts, that's when we start to run into trouble. So there's two things that we need to do for shifting those thoughts and changing those thoughts. The first one is to start to develop a sense of hope. Now, I want to define hope, but before I define hope, let me define optimism, because sometimes we get confused about the difference between hope and optimism. So optimism is believing our future can be better than our current reality. So I'm optimistic that the weather's going to change. I'm optimistic that maybe the political climate will change. I might be optimistic that I'm going to get a gift on my birthday, right? Those are things that we're optimistic about. Hope is believing your future can be different than today and believing that you have the ability to impact that. And that's the extra piece that we often miss. Hope is taking that piece from, I believe that things can be different tomorrow, and I'm going to take some responsibility in making that happen. And when we start to develop hope, that's when things really start to change. Instead of sitting back waiting for things to happen, blaming it on somebody else, looking at the situation that needs to change, we start to look at, what can I do? How can I impact it? What's my role in this? So hope has three components that help us to sort of move forward. The first is that belief that the future can be better than today. Let me look at my notes so I make sure that I'm getting them in the right order. And having a goal. So the first one is actually the goal. I knew I was mixing them up. The first one is having a goal. So we have to be able to look at that future self for us. That's what we're talking about. What does it look like for me in the future? What are my thoughts? How are they different than they are today? And having those different thoughts, what's that getting me? What's that changing for me? So if we're talking about, overwhelm is one that many of us struggle with, right? Oh my God, I have so much to do. I'm never going to get through my to-do list. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I, can't get everything done in a day. Everybody else keeps handing me stuff. And all of these thoughts go round and round in our heads. And we're going to try and slow those down. And so we have to kind of look at, so if I wasn't feeling overwhelmed, if I wasn't noticing everything that was getting in my way of accomplishing what I really wanted, if I was not sort of seeing that I don't have time, what would be different? Well, I might be seeing that I found little pockets of time. I might be thinking I'm more capable when I slow down and stop multitasking. I might be thinking things like, wow, that felt good to accomplish those top 3 things today. I know I had a lot of other things to do, but by identifying those 3 things, I was really able to get done the 3 important things today. So you start to have a goal. What is it that you want things to look like differently? So that's the first piece in hope. The second piece is then that believing that you can do it. So the author about this calls this agency. Believe that you can achieve the goal. And this is what I've been talking about with confidence all the time. Confidence is not what other people think we can do. It's what we believe we can do. And so if you're going to cultivate that sense of hope that you can change your thinking, do you believe you can? Do you honestly have that faith in yourself? And if you're struggling with that, where can you get some of that? Where can you increase that? So 3 parts to hope: goals, agency, and the third one is pathways. What's the route you're going to take to achieve that goal? So it's your plan, right? How are you going to do it? Because if you're just going to sit here and, complain and get frustrated and get overwhelmed and move into that anxious place or get so depressed you can't even move, then you're not hopeful, you're hopeless. And hopeless people certainly aren't moving forward. They're certainly not changing their thoughts. They're keeping the same thoughts in their head that are going round and round and round and dragging them down. So if you want to change your thinking and increase your hopefulness that you're going to change your thinking, you got to develop a plan, right? You have to create that future vision. I'm going to change my thinking. You have to believe that you can change your thinking, and then you need to develop your plan to change that. Now, some of you are saying something like, Kathy, I don't think it needs to be this complicated, or is it really this complicated? I mean, I'm only changing my thinking. And, I think one of the things that we forget is how many times we are effective when we plan. How many times plans actually create what the experience that we want. So, have you ever gone to the grocery store without your grocery list? Yeah, it doesn't work so well, right? You end up skipping or forgetting some of the things that you weren't supposed to buy and buying certainly a lot more than you were supposed to. What if you don't plan for retirement? I mean, if you don't start to think about what am I going to do then what? What if you don't book a hotel in advance and you get to the hotel and they're all booked, right? Lack of planning. What happens when you forget to pack a snack and whatever you're doing takes longer and longer and longer and suddenly you're hungry? Or you chose not to go to the bathroom before you went into that meeting or that event and you're like, pre-planning would have made a huge difference, right? When you plan, when you pack your lunch ahead of time, when you build a menu plan or a grocery list or a budget for the event that you're planning or for your personal life or for your program, things start to change, right? It's that planning that creates that. The same is true with thinking. One of the things that I do is I write in a gratitude journal every morning. Now, I'm not writing, I'm so grateful that I'm alive and I'm so grateful that I have a lovely family. Those things are true and sometimes I write those. But what I'm often writing is how can I shift my thinking about a challenging situation? So, for example, we have a dog that's old and slow and drives us all crazy. I'm grateful that Angel is in my life because she's teaching me patience. The same is true when I go to a meeting and there's somebody at that meeting that drives me nuts and I just want to strangle them. I can go then that next morning after I'm thinking about that situation and write in my gratitude journal, I'm grateful that person was at that meeting last night because it taught me perhaps how to keep my mouth shut, perhaps how to say something with tact, perhaps how to develop more compassion. I mean, it depends on what the situation is. But that plan to write in that gratitude journal every morning helps me to shift my thinking, right? When I was writing my book last year, one of the things that happened often, and this often happens for all of us, no matter what we're doing, is the urge to procrastinate or it's not quite the right time or it's not going well. My plan to get through that thinking when it hit me was I had a timer. I set my timer, and if the timer wasn't up, I wasn't allowed to stop writing, regardless of what thoughts were going on in my head. Oh my God, this is crap. No one's going to want to read this. Why do I think I want to share this? When I shifted that, right, that's when I started to, time it, sit down, write, and yeah, it happened. One thing I can do is I can hop onto Facebook because I want to make a post or I want to comment on something, and those little notifications can drag me through like 20 minutes or a half hour before I'm forgetting even why I was on there. So I have to make a plan to combat that. And so my plan is often that when I catch myself, I get off as soon as I can. And so it's not that I am, good at it. I certainly get lost in that rabbit hole often, but I'm getting better at it because I have a plan to deal with those distractions when they hit me, that urge. I mean, we're just like the little monkey, right? When it goes beep, 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 we're there and we're on it. I mean, that little red number at the top just sucks us in, which is what Facebook wants. But we have to develop a plan. And so often what we're developing is an if-then plan. If this happens, then what am I going to do? If somebody says something that pushes my buttons, then I will take a deep breath. If I get distracted by social media, then when I catch myself, I will remind myself that I'm doing a good job at catching myself, right? And so it's almost like I give myself a pat on the back and reassurance, and maybe I notice that, hey, I caught myself in 15 minutes instead of 20 minutes, and maybe the next day I catch myself in 3 minutes, and it's like those gold stars that we're looking for, right? The if-then plan helps us to go, if this happens, if my thoughts go this way, if I get running down here, then what can I do? All right, what else did I have for you? I wanted to remind you that when we're doing this, it's that belief that we can actually make a difference that makes the difference. And it takes us to creating that plan, but that it starts with the future vision. So all three of those aspects of hope are critical. What's the future vision we have? So you need to spend some time looking at what is it that I want to change. You need to believe with all your heart that you can do it. And then you need to develop that plan and work that plan. So many of us struggle with the planning part. And so as with all of my Facebook Lives, I have a little bit of a worksheet to go through this. This is not as much as a worksheet that I've been doing in the last ones. It's more as an article that I wrote about the 5 mistakes that women leaders often make when planning their life. And so you can get that at silverrivercoaching.com/guides, same place it is every week. And you can pop over there and you can get the 5 mistakes that women leaders often make when planning. Next week, we'll keep the conversation going about planning, but I want you to start thinking about, what are the thoughts that are getting in my way, the ones that I'm really ready to change? Because maybe you're having thoughts about eating and working out and your partner and your workplace and money. And it's like, oh my goodness, don't pick all of them at once. Where's the area that you're ready to start making some changes? Because that's part of that belief. What are the thoughts you're currently having? Noticing those. And what's that different person that you want to be like? And start to create that image of what that different person's going to be like. And then start to work the plan. Make sure you pop on over to silverrivercoaching.com/guides. Get that guide with the 5 mistakes that women leaders often make when developing their plans, and make sure you're not making any of those mistakes, because it's not easy. This takes time, it takes effort, it takes focus, it takes commitment. And you need to make sure that you're not getting pulled down places that are going to make things worse for you and struggle for you. I'll give you a hint. One of the mistakes that women leaders make is we try and do this all by ourselves. Women are notorious for thinking that I can handle it, I've got it, it's under control. The truth is, we often need to find some help. We often need to reach out. I am constantly in Facebook groups, borrowing books from the library, asking for somebody's advice, reaching out, getting coaching. I'm constantly reaching out, getting support and help for me to develop myself, to grow my business, to learn how to be better in relationship with other people. Whatever it is, whatever the challenges that I'm faced with, I'm making sure that I'm reaching out for help. And so that's one of the things that I want you to think about doing. If I'm creating a plan to deal with some of these thoughts I'm having, if I'm creating an if-then strategy for if the donuts end up on the middle of the table in the boardroom and I'm trying to lose weight, then what am I going to do, right? Planning ahead. It's this pre-planning that is going to help us be more successful. And it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time. You're going to slip up and say the things that you didn't mean to say, do the things you didn't mean to do, have the thoughts that aren't getting you where you want to go. But the more you put it front and center, the more you become conscious of it, the more you become aware of it and start to work on it, that's going to change for you. The more you work at this, it's like going to the gym and building muscles. You're building the muscles in your brain. The neural pathways that we have in our brain are so grooved in the way that they've been for the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And when you start to change those, it's not going to change overnight. It's going to take effort and time and, yes, some help probably in some way, shape, or form. One of the biggest ways to start that is to start developing your plan. What are you going to do to start trying to change those thoughts? And develop that sense of hope. Develop that, inner belief in yourself about what it is you can do. If you have any questions, you can pop them in now and I'll answer any questions before I finish up today. And certainly if you're watching this on the replay, you can ask questions and I'll make sure that I'm following along and giving you some answers. But I'm going to share as well, like I say, the Confident Women Leaders group. So if you're looking for some support in this, make sure you join the group. I'll also share the link so that you can get those 5 mistakes that women leaders make. I've also been doing, if you've been following along, last week's Facebook Live, some of the blogs I've been posting are all about starting to increase that awareness around your thoughts. Starting to really create that sense of what's going on, what am I thinking? oh my goodness, I'm never going to be able to handle this. I can't do it all today. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I'm going to end up my day struggling. This is crazy. I can't do this. And blah, our heads go nuts. Whoa, slow down, back it up. Take a deep breath. You know, what are the thoughts I'm having? Are they the thoughts that are moving me forward? Or are they keeping me stuck or moving me backwards? If they're moving you backwards or keeping you stuck, what are the thoughts I need to start to develop, to cultivate, to grow inside of me that are going to move me in the direction I want to go? And what's the plan for making those thoughts stick in my brain? What's the plan for helping me be able to have those thoughts in the middle of the craziness? Because that's what we need to do. We need to work at it gradually over time, build those more helpful thoughts, those more effective thoughts, the thoughts that are going to move you forward, and make sure that those are the ones that are happening more often in our heads and that they're creating those new neural pathways that help us think better and thus be more successful. So thanks, ladies, for joining me. Again, if you have any comments following this after the live, make sure you pop them below and I will come in and answer them. Make sure you head on over to silverrivercoaching.com/guides to get your 5 mistakes that women leaders often make when making plans, trying to plan their life. And I will see you next Thursday for another edition of Facebook Live. Thanks, ladies. Bye-bye.